Hi guys, welcome back to the Library of Alexandria. And today, guys, I'm going to be reviewing Boosh, the Wickwire Watch by Jacquelyn Hagen. Or in a bit that I'm sure she's never heard and has never been harassed by, Jacquelyn.
Where's Jacquelyn at? No Jacquelyn here?
Hagen. Guys, the chances of people having heard memes or popular culture things that deal with their name, like the fact that if you're anticipating them not having heard it. So if you've seen what are they, prairie dogs or groundhog, whatever they are, going, Ellen, 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 I hate that.
Ellen, Ellen, Ellen.
I hate it. I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
I hate it. I hate it. It's not funny. It's never been funny. I've never done any. No!
That's me. And Ellen, Ellen, Ellen. I'm going to review a book now.
Let's get down to business.
So at any rate, this is book one of the Riverfell Chronicles, and I think it's a trilogy. I hope it's a trilogy because I claimed it's a trilogy on my spreadsheet. So, this is a self-published novel, and it is currently one of the competitors in Spiffbo 9. And I'm just going to go ahead and say up front, if Wickwire Watch is in your batch and you don't choose it as your finalist, why are you this way? So I'm just going to say it now. I'm just going to say it now. If this is in your, if you are the panel of judges that has this in your semi-finalists or in your batch or whatever, and you don't pick it for the finalists, guess what? Boom. You just got yourself a holy war. So, just letting you know. And also, I would really like to see the number one, the book that you chose to go on to the finalists, because I could easily see this going to the finals. It is that good. I really, really enjoyed this book. And as you know, I don't read a ton of self-published books, mostly because I am behind on all of the things that I want to read, and I'm so behind on series. And so I picked this up kind of on a lark. The author was extremely kind to send me a copy, like out of the blue. She just asked if I was interested in a copy, and I was like, I mean, I'll take it, but I don't know when I'm going to get to it, because that's always the case. But I got it, and there's a pocket watch in the front. And so, first of all, you got to know that pocket watches, this is the first thing. I love pocket watches. I used to have a collection of pocket watches. I have a one-piece pocket watch that, once again proves that I actually like One Piece. And so that is immediately a way to get me to be interested. And then I read the back, and the main character's name is Ink, which it can either be, like, names like that can either be lame or cool. I will tell you when I start talking about the book why it sold me. So right off the bat, the opening lines of this are... So when I got this book, I had looked in and seen the first line, and that was, I mean, enough to really kind of sell me. And the first line is, had Mr. Bash known this was the night he was going to die, he would have stayed home. Which is just really good opening lines. And then as you read the first chapter, it reminds me a lot, and this book reminds me a lot, of the Books of Babel in kind of the way it's written. It's certainly not as poetic as Bancroft's prose, but there is a whimsical quality to the proceedings while also incredibly serious events going on. Now, if you did not like Senlin Ascends or the Books of Babel, that doesn't preclude you from liking this one. I just got, that's just kind of the feel that I got while reading it, at least in portions of it, especially at the beginning in the town where everyone's like, oh, it's very British. Like, right from the beginning, the book feels extremely British. The town, everybody is just like, oh, could it be? All these very muted, like, responses to things, and these very, I say!
You mean?
A lot of that. Posh Allen would fit right in this starting village. So, regardless, this opens up with the death of Mr. Bash, and it's a mystery. Right off the bat, what happened? What happened to Mr. Bash? And this carries us through the chunk of the book. And the book really begins kind of alternating POVs between a newspaper man, an old-timey newspaper man. I was going to get to the bottom of it. Where were you on the night of April 14th? You know, he's got a little take a picture thingy named Mr. Spindler. And the other one is our protagonist, Ink, or Inkwell Featherfield. And I often do not like young protagonists because they are annoying, especially when they are petulant, and Ink is petulant. However, Ink has a top hat and clothes that are too big. And one of the ways that you can instantly endear me to anything in your book is have them wear a top hat. I don't know why. I'm obsessed with top hats. I want a top hat. My head's too big, and all of the special order places that you can order a top hat in my size, they are always sold out. So I am unable to acquire a top hat, but it is all I want, and all I've ever wanted, really, is a top hat. And so he has a top hat, and he has clothes like a coat that's too big, and I immediately thought of Jack Wilde as the Artful Dodger in the movie musical Oliver. And if you have not seen it, it looks like this.
What you staring at? Haven't you never seen a top?
And that is who was in my mind the entire time. And I love that movie, and I love Dodger. Way more interesting than Oliver. And I messaged the author and said that Ink gave me Dodger vibes, and she confirmed that that was who was in her mind when writing Ink, and I was like, okay, I am sold. It's freaking Dodger. So, friggin' awesome. And I also love old-timey newspapermans trying to get to the bottom of a scoop. He's like, to me, he's like Bill Pullman from the Newsies. So it goes back and forth, especially in basically the first half of the book, juggling between Spindler and Ink as they try to figure out about what happened to Mr. Bash, and, you know, they try to figure out who did it and whatever. And the great bogeyman of who did it is the colonists, who are these... It's a name that you use to scare your children, like Hannibal for the Romans. And the colonists are these kind of revolutionaries who, several years ago, had a massacre on an island that was a gathering of the Entrians. And the Entrians are basically wizards. They're like the aristocracy that also have magic powers. And they were all meeting on an island, and the colonists jumped them on this island and massacred most of them. And so there's been this worldwide manhunt for the last however many years, and the colonists, work from the shadows. This book is carried forward on the strength of Ink's character. Yes, he is petulant. He's a prepubescent pickpocket who, lives on the streets and whatever, doesn't like being told what to do, and he's incredibly petulant. But it doesn't have that kind of Zane vibe, that Holden Caulfield vibe, where everybody's a phony. No, he doesn't really trust anybody, and, probably for good reason. And he doesn't want to do what he's told, but at the same time, there is a great humanity within Ink. We understand that even though we don't know where his background is, we don't know what his family situation is, we don't know much about him, we do understand why he resists the things that people try to get him to do, and he does it to a point that is believable and not just like, oh, look at this petulant child. He never goes into the realm of annoying for me, and this, I cannot express enough how well this is handled as far as young characters are concerned. He is three-dimensional. He has a fondness for people around him after a while. He wants to do the right thing, but at the same time has fear of doing various things. And he's funny. And a lot of times he is absolutely funny in his, like, I'm not going to do what you tell me to do. Like, get out of my face. He is incredibly endearing. This is the triumph of this novel. I cannot wait to follow Ink in the next two books. So as I said, Hagen's prose has this kind of whimsical quality. It flows very well. At no point do we get bogged down in over-exposition or description. It feels like you're reading a kind of a classic novel, but without all of the wordiness of Dickens. And one of the best things about this book is that Hagen takes risks that you would not expect. The genre of this book changes-ish several times. Like, the feel of this book, you almost get whiplash because it changes from one thing to another almost without any warning. So what begins as kind of a Dickensian murder mystery, like, oh, can I have some bread? Yes, excellent. It turns into a kind of slice of life, like Downton Abbey-ish, or Middlemarch-ish, or one of those very British things where, oh, this person does this, and this person does this, and we're all living in kind of a similar estate thing, and you get to know a lot of characters here, and I understand why this part is here. It is very good for introducing us to the other characters outside of Spindler and Ink, and this is where you get attached to the rest of the cast. This part was not my favorite. It is literally almost exactly 100 pages right in the middle where this happens, where the POV kind of stops shifting, and we're here stuck with these people for about 100 pages. And it's not that it's not good, it's just not my thing as much as the rest of the book is. The characters I really like, there's like 2 former opera singers who have kind of left their opera singing life behind, and there's one dude who loves wine, and then there's one dude who is a navigator who I hate. Like, I hate him so much, and he's supposed to be, he's supposed to be like, we're supposed to like him, I think, and I don't. I hate him as much as ink does. And then we return back to the action of the novel, and out of nowhere we get some kind of Lovecraftian existential horror that just is really, really just bizarre to read, and then takes a turn toward the end in kind of a Tom Clancy like spy / political thriller. And it's really, really good. I just enjoyed how much happened in this book that I didn't expect. But it didn't feel like Deus Ex Machina. Deus Ex Machina isn't Here Comes the Cavalry. Deus Ex Machina is, I have written myself into a corner. Here is something that has no like backing narratively. It's just, I've just invented something to pull my butt out of the fire. None of that is there. Feels very natural, while at the same time unexpected. And the great thing that Hagen does here is, with these other characters outside of Ink and Spindler, it is hard to know who to root for, because on several sides of this conflict, we have people that we like, kind of, but are also terrible, and then people that we don't like because they're huge douchebags, but are also like good. She does a great job in forcing you to decide, and without telling you explicitly which of the characters are the actual antagonists and which are the actual protagonists. It's kind of left up in the air on who you're going to side with. Now, I have made my decision and drawn my line in the sand. It was not a hard decision for me at all, but the characters, I think, are one of the strengths of this novel. It explores themes of belonging, of finding your identity when and if you don't have a home. It explores a lot the idea of the gilded cage, where you have all of this luxury, but are you really free to do what you want, or are you basically, imprisoned by dint of your circumstances? It explores revenge and what people will do to get revenge, and whether or not revenge is blind, or if revenge is justice by other means. I love when she also touches on the incompetence of bureaucracies. Some of my favorite chapters in there deal with the bureaucracies. And again, I love the company, and the company is about nothing except how these guys are trying to establish a colony on an abandoned island. And so I see some of this here, where how small towns are run. Like, I really enjoy that. There's also a supernatural element, and that's what I'm talking about, the horror thing, and trying to figure out what's going on there it's just an exciting book all around. It is well written, great characters, hard to see where the plot is going to go. And I think the magic system is also really, really interesting in this as well. So guys, I recommend this book incredibly strongly. If any of that sounded interesting, you should get it and you should read it. This was not a hard read. I read it in like 3 days, 4 days. It did not take me long to read at all, which is always good. Like, I hate getting bogged down. There was nothing here that bogged me down. The characters are great. Inkwell is one of my new favorite protagonists, especially among the younger protagonist crowd. And this deals with some complicated, like, heady, terrifying things. So don't let the fact that the protagonist is young, or that I said it was whimsical and feels very Dickensian, to turn you off of the fact that this is fantasy, and there are some really challenging themes and personal stories. Some of the connections that you make with the characters as you learn their personal histories are really, really touching. This is Hagen's debut, and I cannot say enough great things about this. It is out now, and it is one of the Spiffbo 9 competitors. It may be, I actually think it might be against the rules to promote any Spiffbo book. Whatever, I'm not part of this stupid thing. You need to go read it anyway. You absolutely, and if you like pocket watches, especially like pocket watches, you absolutely should read this book. Go buy it. It is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful novel. If you're worried about, like, oh, does it feel self-published? No. It feels like a perfectly polished book from one of the big five, publishing houses. So you absolutely should buy it. Tori had an interview. She's also read it, also loved it. I had an interview with the author. I'll link her video right there. I have yet to read it because I've had company here, so I haven't had a chance to watch really anything. But I cannot wait to read book 2 called The Spider Key. So yes, go check out the Wickwire Watch. And if you've read it, what did you think? Tell me down in the comments. So guys, that is it for me for today. As always, information about my Patreon and Discord is down in the description, and I'll see you next time, guys.